In this conversation, I bring Courtney Hawkins from Mamalinc back on for a Q&A session to discuss common concerns faced by mothers regarding breastfeeding. We delve into topics such as low milk supply, the favoured breast, mastitis, tongue tie, and the introduction of bottles and formula. The discussion emphasises the importance of understanding breastfeeding dynamics, recognising challenges, and seeking support from professionals. Courtney is as kind and generous as always and shares her personal experiences and insights as a mother of four and lactation consultant, providing valuable advice for new mothers navigating the complexities of breastfeeding. If you haven't already done so, please listen to episode 40, in which I have a more in-depth chat with Courtney around the challenges and joys of motherhood and her very helpful app for parents. Enjoy this episode. Hey, today I'm joined by Courtney from Mamalinc. We have had a previous conversation in this podcast, haven't we, Courtney?
Yes.
Which was really successful, and I know a lot of you have loved the information that was brought out in that episode. So I've invited Courtney back on because there are a number of sort of concerns and questions that mums have, and they seem to come up quite regularly. So I thought we would just do a bit of a Q&A, and we look forward to your insights, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me again. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to cover all these questions.
Yes, I think it will help a lot of mamas. So the first one is around low milk supply. We're talking about breastfeeding. This comes up a lot, and a lot of mothers presume, I think, or believe that they have low milk supply. How would you answer that?
So I think the first thing that I always ask a mother when they think they have low milk supply is to tell me the reasons why they think that.
Hmm.
So I ask them first, okay, what's going on? What's changed? How old is your baby? So we go through those things and then we talk about that. And then the other big thing is like, okay, well, how many wet nappies is your baby having? Are they still gaining weight? Are they happy and content in between feeds and then having a sleep as well? If those things are being met, it could be more of a perceived thought like
Hmm.
cluster feeding, witching hour, those two big things thrown in with your breasts changing. Cause when you first have the baby, they go crazy on day two and they're wanting milk vigorously. And then all of a sudden the milk supply goes whoosh, right up there. And then all of a sudden your breasts become these huge watermelon and they're like bursting and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, you're constantly leaking milk." And like your boobs go through stages as well. And I think it's really important that women understand that because then again around that 4 to 6 week mark, all of a sudden your breasts are like, "Okay, we now know you don't have triplets and you don't need
Yes.
as much milk." So it starts to kind of even off now.
Right.
And then your breasts feel softer. They don't feel as like these big, huge kahunas.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think it's really important that women understand that. But once your breasts do start to settle off, is when your baby goes through one of their first mental leaps. So all of a sudden they're cluster feeding, they're cranky, they're fussy, they're crying a lot. It's like Jekyll and Hyde baby. You're like, this is not my baby. What has happened? And so I think there's so many things that you need to look at first to really see if it is a low milk supply issue or if it's possibly just a progression in your baby and they're just needing some extra support and just needing that extra like feeds and that cluster feeding.
Yes. Yeah, and the baby's so much more efficient in removing the milk from the breast too, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I
I
think those
think
periods mothers
yeah,
really.
sorry. Yeah. Closely linked to that question is the thought that, the mum is feeling like probably very similar to what we've just said, but she's feeling like, oh, I don't have as much milk as I used to. And when my baby is cluster feeding, they're so irritable and so fussy that I think I need to top them up. They're really not getting enough breast milk.
I think this is such a common question and concern. And I think also it also stems from when they're so little where they're told to give their baby top ups all the time when they're not
Yeah.
when they're so young still too, and we get caught into that trap, a vicious cycle, I call it. So I think the biggest thing again here to look at is what was your baby doing beforehand? If it's only been a few days of this, I want you to look at what was happening before. Was your baby sleeping well? Were they having, good feeds? Were they happy? Were they content? Were they having that typical witching hour? Some babies 4 to 8 not feeling great is what I usually say. But
Mm.
some babies can have witching hour in the morning or the afternoon, like around
Mm.
10 or 11 a.m. So get to know your baby and see if their witching hour is different. Also know cluster feeding, it's going to happen. It always happens. It is normal and natural part of your baby and your breasts and that growing as well with your baby. So there's always ups and downs. And I think it's really important that you understand that. That doesn't necessarily mean you have low supply, and you really need to look at what's going on to consider that. So that's where that top up comes into effect. Because if you're topping up and you're not continuing to drain that breast, then this is when we can actually run into actual supply issues. Okay.
Right.
So this is the issue when you give that top up. Okay. So if you think you have low supply and then you're giving a top up on top of that and you're not pumping, you're not draining the breast. So your breast is like, oh, I don't need that milk anymore. So we're going to stop producing it. So then the breast stops producing that milk. So then you're always continuing to give that top up and you need to continue to give the top up. Where if you think your baby needs a top up, okay, try it, give them a top up, but make sure you pump the breast for 10 to 20 minutes if you can. Make sure you pump the breast because you need to completely drain the breast. And when it comes to pumping, make sure those pumping parts are up to date, that you've changed them because the pump is not as effective if you're not changing pumping parts either, or you're pumping properly or with the right size nipple flange. So there's so many things you need to consider when you give a top up. And this is why I
Mm.
think it's really important to reach out to somebody like an LC like myself for that help because with a top up, you could not be doing the best thing in the long run with your supply. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to gauge and it is dependent on each mother's journey. But again, look at those nappies. Are they having 5 to 6 wet heavy nappies? Are they gaining weight still, like they're around that 150 grams a week? And now remember, that's an average. So they may gain, 90 grams one week, and then the next week gain 70 grams. So it's over a period of time. Please know that it's sometimes mothers really freak out that they're not gaining that 150 every single week. That's just an average. Okay. So please be mindful of that. And then yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I would say about top ups is just know that when you give it, you need to be pumping and that it's could affect your supply even more if we don't know what's going on in the first place.
Yeah, that's really good to know. And especially because that word top up just gets thrown around so, lightly, doesn't it? As if
Yes,
that's the answer to everything.
yes, it's so blasé.
Yeah.
Just give them a top up. Just give them a top
Yeah.
up. Well,
Yeah.
you're expecting more.
Exactly. And I don't think a lot of mums are aware of that it actually could be
No,
detrimental in the long
exactly.
run.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
You've
Yeah,
said something which will make me ask this next question.
yeah.
In a feed, is it recommended to empty one breast completely before going to the other breast or give a bit of both?
So here's the thing. In initially, when you are starting off with breastfeeding, always give both breasts to help with that stimulation and help because you always have milk in your breast. Like, when you're pregnant, you got those itchy, crusty breasts, and it's like that yellow liquid gold. That's the colostrum. So you always have milk, but what happens is your milk transitions, and that's when the milk supply goes whoosh.
Yeah.
You get those big breasts. Now, it's important to know that the milk is always there and you have to be switching breasts initially. After that, it depends on a female. Okay. Some small breasted women may need to offer both breasts every feed. Myself, a large breasted woman, I can offer one feed at a time. Okay. One breast at a time, sorry. But how you figure this out is by trial and error. Okay.
Mm.
So you always have to offer one breast, then do a breast compression. So that's where you compress the breast with your hand and squeeze to offer more milk to see if you get and some more milk coming out, another letdown to get them sucking again.
Right.
Another trick I always do is the nappy trick. I think you should be doing the nappy trick until your baby is at least 4 to 6 weeks old. It helps with sleep, it helps with feeding, it helps with so much stuff. And that's where you change the nappy halfway through a feed when they fall asleep and not at the beginning. And I know some women are like, but they've pooed. I'm like, I know, unless they have a really sore bum, you can quickly change it, but leave it until they get sleepy on that feed and then change them.
Yeah.
Because babies naturally fall asleep when they're sucking. It's warm.
Yes.
It's a beautiful place there. They're like, "Yes, oh, this is heaven." And then they fall asleep, but they didn't fill their tummy yet. So, by taking them off, changing the nappy, you can offer the same breast again and see if they take it. If not, and you offer the second breast, but they don't feed as long. Say they only feed for like, maybe 5, 10 minutes and then fall asleep, maybe 5, 8 minutes even. Always start on the breast you last fed on because they didn't have a full feed. So it's kind of like they got their little bit of like, dessert. I guess you can kind of put that analogy to it. They've had a little bit of dessert, but they didn't have the full feed. So start on the breast you ended on. So this is where it becomes tricky. And this is where like I want women to know it's a trial and error situation. If
Okay.
your baby only goes half an hour and they're screaming for feed, then maybe they need two boobs a feed. If they go like an hour and a half on one boob and they did quite well, maybe they only need one breast. But you still need to watch that output and how many wees they're having a day as well.
Mm.
So it's kind of like it's a trial and error, like so
Yeah.
many things in motherhood.
Sounds like it's quite variable, and each woman has to take into consideration, her breast size, her
Yeah.
breast content.
Yes.
Yes, but is it? I've heard that the back of the milk, the fore milk, is or the hind milk, sorry, is the fatty milk. So, is it important that the baby is you're trying to give them a lot of one breast so that they can get that fatty content?
So look, there's a lot of stuff saying, yes, whole hind milk, fore milk, but by the end of the day, your baby will have drained those breasts so well that they will
Right.
have gotten that hind milk by the end of the day anyways.
Okay.
And I try to
Yeah.
tell women not to worry about that too much unless we're seeing other issues, but
Yeah.
try not to worry about that too much because your baby will get it. They will get it.
Okay. Good to
Especially
know.
by the end of the day when they're having that witching hour, they are definitely getting all that good stuff
Yeah.
in.
So not to fret that they're not going to get that is
That's
that's a
it.
really important thing to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is very common. My baby favors one breast, or as a mama, I feel more comfortable on one and don't
Yes.
really like feeding on the other boob.
Yes, I can relate to this 100%, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes it comes down to, like, your comfortability in holding them on that side.
Yeah.
Also, too, possibly your nipple. Maybe you don't have a good as
Yeah.
nipple on one side as you do on the other
Exactly.
side, maybe it's an inverted one on one side. And, like, I can tell you I favor one side more, but as the baby gets in a groove, you forget about it. Like, I think it's initially those first 2 months where it's probably the hardest, and then you get into such a groove. It's like riding a bicycle. I my analogy to breastfeeding is like riding a bike, okay? You're going to fall down. Your baby's gonna fall down. They're gonna get hurt. There's gonna be lots of hiccups. But once you get it, and you are like flying. So be prepared for those bumps and those potholes because it's going to happen. And know that it's okay and that you will get through it and it will get easier and easier. So I think that, yeah, I truly think that everybody favors one side over the other and it will get easier. And also too, you can try different positions. Like if you
Yeah.
favor feeding like on the left side and you really like having them in the cross cradle, try putting them in the football position because it's kind of like that, but on the other side. And it's kind of like you're trying to
Yeah,
copy it
exactly.
on the other side. So try to be a little bit creative like that and try different positions maybe on the breast that you don't generally kind of like or the baby doesn't like either.
So don't give up on that boob too
No.
easily because sometimes we can talk ourselves into it, I think.
Oh, yes.
We just don't like that one and the
Exactly.
baby's not comfortable on that one.
Yeah. I always tell my mothers, nickname it. Like, is it lefty or is it righty? Who is it? Tell me who it is and let's nickname them and
Yeah,
let's talk through it because
yeah.
lefty doesn't necessarily always, is that bad, but we've just got to work our way through it. And there's ways we can do that. Cause sometimes it's like maybe we're not getting the baby latched on properly and it just feels really uncomfortable. So
Yes.
let's try different positions, like even laying in the bed sideline to help until we both get better at that side, you and the baby, to then be able to do it sitting at the couch, things like that.
Yes. And I think you said something really good in the last episode is that breastfeeding is hard.
Yeah,
So if it feels hard and it's awkward and uncomfortable, well, that's normal. It will get better, but you've got to expect a little bit of that in the early days.
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So mums worry that they're going to get mastitis, that they've got mastitis. What are the signs? How do they know that they have that?
Look, I've been there. I had mastitis. I had it so bad they thought I had an abscess. Like it was horrible. And I've been there. So please know that moms, even as a lactation consultant, I have had mastitis. Okay. So I think the biggest thing to decipher if you might have mastitis is how you're feeling. Do you have fevers? Do you have aches and chills? And then if you're having those things and you're really tired and lethargic, then that's when I would ask you to go to the bathroom and I want you to look at that baby. I want you to lift it up. I want you to look underneath it. Is it sore and tender? Do you see any like it looks like a red pizza? It looks like a red pizza, like a
Mm,
wedge, a triangle. Do you see that anywhere? Usually it's underneath the breast or to the side. Some people can get it on the top too, but check those areas to see if you have it and if you have all those other symptoms, fever, like it's literally like you're sick, fever,
yes, I've had
chills,
it.
sweats,
Yeah.
like it's literally like you just feel ill in your body.
Yes, it feels like the worst virus.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. That's what will separate it.
So other times they might just have some lumpy breasts, some blocked ducts. Is that what the case is? Even when it feels a bit red or a little bit swollen, or a bit hot, it doesn't necessarily mean it's mastitis? Yeah.
Not necessarily every single time, especially those first 4 weeks when you're so engorged because they're
Mm.
hot. Your breasts are
Yes.
so big, they're hot. So this is where like cold compress works really well. I
Yes.
recommend doing that for like, 10, 15 minutes. But just watching your breasts and watching yourself as well, and just look at them, like, don't push your breasts too hard because you
Mm.
can create more damage by doing that. Because if
Yeah.
you're pushing really hard, you could hurt one of the milk ducts and then create a new inflammation and a new this
Yeah. Got
plug
you.
is what you say. So, you have to be very careful with what you're doing when you are with your they are delicate, ladies, they are
Yeah.
delicate.
You're right. So what about, like, massaging them in the shower or something like that? Do you think that that's a good thing?
So it depends again. So we know now from all the new research that plugged ducts and mastitis is all inflammation. Okay.
Mm.
So massaging and trying to massage it out could be doing more damage.
Yeah.
We're now doing the reverse that. Okay. So
Yes.
in your armpits, you have lymph nodes. You need to be massaging up towards your armpit to help get rid of the excess milk and fluid to help drain it per se. But I also know what it's like with plug ducts to feel like this popping sensation when all of a sudden it just like gives, it's like pop, and it's like a weird sound that you hear, and all of a sudden the milk just starts spurting everywhere. Another thing to understand with mastitis or plug ducts is when they both occur, you may then get a low milk supply on that side because all of a sudden your breast wasn't able to completely drain all the time. It was, the inflamed area blocked it. So
Right.
now you might have a little bit of a lower supply, so your baby might demand to feed more on that breast. And that's okay. Just know that and go back to basics. If your baby, you're doing skin to skin, whenever you have mastitis or plug ducts, I always say go back to basics. Lots of skin to skin, cuddling, watching TV, put them on your chest, let them feed whenever they want. That is the best way it's going to help. And looking at like an anti inflammatory, like an ibuprofen as well to help too.
Okay, cool. Some women get a bit of extra breast tissue.
Yes.
What causes that? Because that can be a surprise. And also, is there anything they should be doing about that, or just naturally it will just go down?
So naturally, it does go down and goes away, but it can be a little bit like nerve wracking when you look in your
Bit
armpit.
daunting.
This
Yeah.
huge bulge, because that's where it usually comes. It's usually in the armpit, and it's a big ball of milk there. And it's called the wag of tail. I think the nickname is for it.
Okay.
And it is normal. I've seen it on many women, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable. But as your milk, I find as the milk also starts to settle out a bit more too, around that 4, 6 week mark is when they usually start to see it go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it twice and quite one at the moment actually. And yeah, it just kind of it just naturally dissolves. So don't fret, don't worry, it's gonna
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So let's see what else comes up a lot. Yes, this introducing the bottle of formula because, of course, we want a break and we want our partner to be involved and we want them to be bonding with the baby. But is that a good thing? And when, if you are going to start doing that, when would you say is probably effective time to start doing that? Not too early.
Yeah, so literally, I know parents always take what I say and do it earlier. So I always say 4 to 6 weeks, okay? Because that's when that milk supply has started to even out and you
Okay.
have that milk supply. If you're doing it beforehand and you're not pumping, if you're not pumping anytime you give a bottle,
Yeah.
you're going to drop your supply. And I think that's the most important thing to know. If you want to continue to breastfeed and give one bottle of formula here or there, great, but make sure you're pumping. Otherwise, you're going to notice a change in your milk supply and your baby's going to be really fussy for a few days until they bring the supply back up. If you're giving a set bottle every single day, then your body will have gotten used to it, but know that it can affect it. So you really have to watch that. That
Yeah.
would be my biggest tip, like and again, pumping, make sure you have the right nipple flange, make sure you're changing your parts, make sure you're cleaning it properly, like, there's so many other things as well, and with the pump, as your breast gets used to the pump, you need to turn it up. So people don't know this, like, you get that elastic nipple and you're like, "Oh, wow, okay." So you need to turn it up, you may need to change nipple sizes, the flange, like, there's so many things with pumping that you need to be aware of as well too. And formula, like, I know a lot of women are just like, "Oh, if I give formula, they'll sleep the night through." Formula
Mm,
is not always the answer, and I really
mm,
wanna say that because
mm,
they're like, "But my friend's bottle-fed babies sleep better." I'm like, "Well, their sleep better because by the time they make a bottle and get to their babies learned how to self-settle themselves. Where a
mm.
breastfed baby, you instantly react because it's just like, "Okay, here, boom, on the boob." A bottle, you gotta go make it, you gotta prep it, gotta bring it back to the room, you gotta then feed them, get them up, feed them. In that time span, it's giving them a few minutes to see if they settle or not.
Right.
And so it's very different ball game. And formula affects a baby differently. And it's important to know that too.
Mm.
When you start to give formula, your baby's poo is going to change. They will get backed up. They are going to be constipated and more gassy pain cries. So you need to know those things and really take it into consideration with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, good to know. It's not always the answer for everything. And
No,
just to be aware that other things might be created, other issues.
that's it.
If you are going to give them a bottle each day, which time of the day would you say would be the best in terms of keeping your milk supply going?
Look, moms aren't gonna like this. The earlier, the better. So if you can give your husband can give your partner, whichever it may be, or your parents, maybe whoever's giving the bottle, to give it earlier and you continue to give the night feed, especially like that 10, 2 a.m.
Right.
It's like at nighttime, you produce prolactin, which is what helps breast milk, the production of breast milk. So if you're inhibiting that and not draining the breast, it's not going to keep producing.
Yeah, okay. Very good to know because absolutely, generally, do they want to do that for that nighttime feed?
Yes, or the
Yes.
dream feed, give the
Yeah,
bottle, but,
exactly. Yes.
and I get it, I totally get it, but you just need to understand the repercussions when you do it.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we've covered a lot of the questions that I had written down for what I commonly hear, and I'm sure you commonly hear. Was there
Great.
anything else that you wanted to cover necessarily that you think comes up a lot?
Mm,
Maybe the one about tongue tie and lip tie. This
yes,
is becoming. I don't think we've ever heard as many diagnoses of that as we have in the last sort of year or so.
yes, I know.
Is it always a problem? Like, I'm sure there are many adults that have had a tongue tie or a lip tie and never knew about it,
Yeah,
and they're functioning now.
I
Is
had one.
it Yeah, right. So
Yes,
does it always need to be surgically snipped, or when would you say just let it go and see how if the baby's feeding well?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had 4, like we've talked about before with my 4, and out of all 4 of them, 2 of them I had to clip, and 1 I clipped later in life, like he was 7 or 8 months because the lip
Mm,
tie was so bad that his teeth were growing in big
right.
gaps. So
Yep.
that's why I clipped it. But I fed 2 boys who had minor lip ties, as they would say minor, and they fed beautifully, grew beautifully. I didn't clip them. I didn't need to until my son was older. And then I'm like, okay, your teeth are getting pretty bad. Like I can see the big gap. And as soon as we did it, like it was perfect. But it's not necessarily needed unless it is affecting the breast diet, like with the mother. So what I mean by
Mm,
that is, do they have crack damaged nipples? Can they not latch and stay on the breast? And they constantly breaking the seal, which is causing those crack damaged nipples?
Mm.
That's when we really need to look at things. Now, I think it's become more of a thing now too because there's more education around it. I do
Mm.
think there's like a catch 22 with this. Before it wasn't really talked about. Nobody did it. Now we have designated clinics that do it because it makes such a difference. Like my last two, my daughter had it the worst. She was my third. And I had crack damaged nipples. I had blood in my milk. Like it was bad. And she was day 3 and I had to go get her done because it was
Mm.
so bad. I couldn't breastfeed. It was so painful. And like, yes, your nipples are tender that first week. You have to give them some grace, but it was really bad. Went in there, got her done. That first feed was just like, psh. I was like, yeah, it was the right decision. Like
Yeah.
she fed beautifully from then on. We never had any issues again. And my son, he was really bad, and he only just had a little bit of a tongue tie, but it was his lip, and he couldn't hold the seal. So I think it really depends on your feeding and your milk supply. Are they gaining weight? Can they stay on the breast while they're feeding? Are they constantly breaking the latch? Are they gaining good weight? Are you crack damaged nipples? Like there's a few things that you need to look at to get the whole picture first. Tongue tie and lip tie cutting for every single baby is not going to work. Like it's not going to work every single time as well because you need to have the right positioning, the right latch. If those fix everything like they did with my first two, I didn't need to have it done. So I think you need to back up. Oh, my baby has tongue and lip tie. Okay, if they do have it, let's
Mm.
work on your latch and positioning first to see if we need to do something about it and
Yes.
look at those nipples as well.
Yeah, definitely. So case by case, and also just bringing in a professional,
Yes.
a lactation consultant to help you through to see if, there's other things that can be done before you need to take that step.
Yes, and please see a lactation consultant. Like, I
Yeah.
hate to say this, I love my doctors, but GPs don't study this unless they are an
No.
IBCLC. They don't know. So please make sure you're seeing an LC, like an IBCLC, because we get trained on this. We talk about it. We're tested on it to get our license. So we know a lot. Like, I think really make sure that you're seeing the right person. And there's some dentists that are trained in it,
Yes.
also some doctors and clinics that have it. So please make
Yes.
sure you're in the right places.
Absolutely. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for your generosity. I
Oh,
think
thank you
just
for having me.
to so excited we might have you again too.
I love it. I love doing these. So please,
Yeah,
anytime, honestly.
yeah, especially when the new app is out. We're looking
Yes,
forward to
I'd
that.
love to come back on. Yes.
Yeah. So let's round out our conversation by just asking for your message to new mamas, especially those that might be feeling like they're going through a difficult season right now. It's tough. It's there's definitely times when you're really not enjoying it. What
Yeah.
would you like them to know?
Like, please know you're not alone. Like, even myself, I've got my 7-month-old, and there have been ups and downs. Like, if you listen to the last podcast, you would have heard it. And I think, it is just a season. It goes quickly. And there are things you can be doing to help yourself as well, like joining communities, joining mothers groups who are in the same stage you are,
Mhm.
because they know what you're going through. They're experiencing it. You can be more relatable with them. So trying to find that little bit of support that you can and know that this time will fly by and you will forget about it. And this is why I think women, we forget about it. This is why we have so many kids, because we forget, we forget about the birth until you're ready to give birth. You're like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this again?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're in the newborn stage, you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, you forget about these things as they get older. And please know that, like, this time is precious and time is like a thief of joy. Like, you can't be focusing
Mm.
on all these things. Just enjoy this little bit of time before they keep changing more and more again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome
we'll close there. Thanks again. And
so much.
yeah, looking forward to hearing more about your app and can't wait for that. And yeah, take care.
You too. Have a lovely afternoon.
You too.
Thanks.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. Head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.